Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning. Good morning if you are, for example, in Guatemala. I am in Italy. If you don't know me, I am a language teacher from Para Italiano. And here is my very good friend, Chio, directly from Guatemala. Let's see if she can manage to.
Good morning. How are you?
Absolutely fine. It's great to see you. How's the weather today in Guatemala?
It's really, really nice. It's actually a very beautiful day. It's sunny. It's cool. It's cool. I'm not gonna say it's chilly. It's cool, but it's nice.
Don't say that. We are still in winter here, so it's northern Italy. So we have like 12 degrees today. Well, at the moment.
Hi. I think Eduardo, Natalia. Hi. Nice to see you,
Hi,
everybody.
Crown languages. Hi, Maria.
Awesome. Oh well, I'm so excited. So let's welcome everybody today. And basically, the reason we are here is because we want to share our experience as learners, as teachers, and to be able to provide our students with tips and techniques that they can apply to their everyday, to make it easier, to make it more fun to learn a language, whatever language it is. It doesn't matter if it's Italian, if it's English, if it's, doesn't matter, Spanish, right? But the important thing is that we make it something enjoyable to learn it better, right?
Absolutely right. Completely right. So something that is shareable, something that we all have in common, and that we've learned by our own personal experience as well as students, because obviously that's we were at the beginning for with all our languages that we learned through, in our experience. Okay,
Exactly.
sure.
So
So,
why don't you share with us a little bit about your experience as an English learner when you were learning English? I would love to hear that.
okay, superb. Okay, so you see, I didn't actually learn English at school. It was been fantastic, but I did other languages, and then so I found myself okay. So I need this language, but I was already in my mid 20s. So mid 20s, so I was an adult when I started learning the language, and so what I did is I was lucky to find a lovely class that I really enjoyed, and it was like once a week. And the teacher provided me with structure, and this is what I like about going into the classroom, because you have structure. If you have to do it by yourself, you can, but that teacher provided with some sort of framework, something to work with. I would go there that evening, and then I would have my lesson. But this is not the end of it. This is only the beginning. Because if I have to say one word that was important to me for my learning, is the word independence. Independence as a learner. So yes, the teacher is there, she's a guide, she is precious, and yet you have to come out of that classroom, and then you have to find and be searching, be hungry for new opportunities. What do you say? What is
I
your experience?
I absolutely agree. As a learner and as a teacher, I think that's one of the most important things that right now we want our students to understand. Teachers are your guides. We are there for you to go along the process, right? To support you, to give you advice, to help you, but you need to be independent. You need to take charge of your learning and say, okay, I want to do this. I need to do this. This is my plan. This is my goal, right? And when you decide to do it, then you become an independent learner. You don't need your teacher there like, hey, did you do your homework? Hey, what are you doing? How are you learning? No, you are there to say, ask the questions. The teacher is going to answer to help you, but you keep going. You need to keep going, right? That's super, super important. And it's very hard because I think independence goes hand by hand with motivation, right?
Exactly.
I think that you cannot have one without the other. I remember when I was learning English, I learned when I was younger, right? When I started, I was still a child, and I didn't like English. I hated it because I couldn't relate. I didn't understand the point of it. And well, my mom said, well, you have to learn English. I'm like, well, why? Like, what's the reason, right? You're a kid, you don't know why. And I struggled. I struggled a lot. I was never a brilliant student. I struggled in school with some learning problems, so it was hard for me. And I remember I couldn't figure anything out. Then my mom said, okay, well, this is not working out. You're going away, right? And they sent me away to study English. And there's like everything changed because first of all, I was an independent person. I was by myself and I needed to learn. It was a necessity. I found the reason, and it was to communicate, to talk to other people, to make new friends, visit other places. I was experiencing a whole new adventure, right? And that gave me the motivation. So immediately.
Absolutely. I think you said it very, very well. So what I think about motivation, obviously, if you are in the country, you find straight away, you are bang. As a child, you were there, you had to do it. I mean, it was not going anywhere. However, I think you can still, and as an adult, it's even easier. Obviously, as a child, it's more difficult, but as an adult, it's even easier to just sit down and start thinking, okay, what is my motivation? Okay, perhaps I don't live in the country, so I don't have to speak on a daily basis with somebody, but you still, to be a successful learner, it's very important you actually clarify that to yourself. So ask yourself, okay, what do I want to achieve with this? So do I want to, I don't know, be able to, for example, it could be freedom, the freedom to go and work in another country or to go and live in another country, or simpler to go on holiday and feel free, feel part of the culture.
Exactly. You know what I think? I think this is a perfect moment. We have people here watching. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. It's really nice to see people that I know that are here. Thank you. And I would like to maybe take a second to ask them that are watching, what is their motivation? So maybe you can put a comment in the chat and say, what's your motivation for learning another language? What makes you want to do it? So maybe we can share also with our motivations, right? And Laura, I think I agree with you. You know, when you're not in the country, you need to find other ways. You need to find other ways. Going on vacation, meeting people, even dating, you know, like you never know. You might meet the love of your life from another country. So you want to communicate with them. Working, a better job.
Absolutely. And while we wait for people to tell us what their motivation, Patrick, I saw you there, so write up about your motivation as well. And so I think that then the motivation is then directly related to setting your goals, so that then you can have also the satisfaction of knowing what you're achieving.
I see a comment. Hi, Cami. I love you. Thank you for being here, Cami. And she says, meeting famous people. I like that.
Fabulous.
And
having a better life. Having a better life, isn't that, well, that is a great motivation, for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
You know what? For us living in Latin America, it's a little bit different. And like, I think that's a very important point that Camila just touched there. Having a better life for us in Latin America, it is a necessity to speak English right now, right? Most companies will require you to speak English. Many of our countries depend on tourism. It's a big industry, especially here in Guatemala, Costa Rica, where I am from. huge industry, right? So if we do want to achieve better opportunities in life, this is a necessity, but we can also see it as a huge door that opens for so many things, right? Chatting up, Giovanni. Hi.
Shouting at Giovanni Ostrica, come dancing. Now, you must know this is the British, it's a British, it's a huge TV show, Strictly Come Dancing, and it's like Dancing with the Stars. I don't know if you've got something similar.
Yes.
It become then, it's everywhere. This show is a fabulous show, and Giovanni is one of the fabulous Italian dancer. So
Of
thank you,
course.
Patrick, for mentioning this. Chatting up Giovanni. Patrick, you naughty.
Well, good for you, Patrick. You go and do that. I would too.
Absolutely right. It's fantastic. Okay, so just reining in. So, because we need to give these people something to hang on to, don't we? We need to give them something that they can follow after our chat. So, setting goals. So how do we set goals? What goals? What do you say?
Okay. I think we have our main objective, right? But we cannot set that as our only goal. Our main objective is to learn a new language. But you need to decide so many different aspects of that, right? What is your main reason? Yes. What time frame do you want to set to achieve? Sometimes people expect to do it really fast, and learning a language is a process. It takes time and it takes practice. So you need to be realistic when you set your goals. Also, think about how you are going to do it. What methods are you going to go to classes? Are you going to find a private tutor? Are you going to be an independent learner? So those need to be your goals, right?
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think that to add on what you said perfectly well is as this learning is a huge undertaking, because it depends also where you want to take your language learning, and the ability to set very tiny goals will allow you to motivate, because you will see that you achieve them. So, for example, really, you could set goals that are like a weekly goal, something like, okay, this week, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn to introduce myself and to be able to ask a few questions to somebody that I don't know. Think about that. That is your first encounter where you go to the country, and you are already able, and you can consider that your weekly goal. But it gives you something to achieve, something to look forward to in a very, tiny little week. And then obviously you can play around, you expand and so on. What do you say to that?
I totally agree. And I always tell my students, we need to take baby steps. And I compare learning a language like going to the gym. Yeah, you don't go to the gym the first day and then expect to, I don't know, lift 300 pounds or run a marathon the day after. You cannot do that. You're going to die. It's going to be painful and it's going to be frustrating. And our enemy as students, as language learners, is frustration, because that's where we stop. That's where we quit. So we need to go baby steps. Respect your process and do not compare yourself to anybody, because the way I learn is different to the way you learned. My time is different than your time. So you need to go step by step, take your time, respect your process, and enjoy it. That is the goal. Enjoy it. Have fun. And this is where we need to find our motivation to. We need to relate our experience learning a language with the things that we already like. It's not a task. It's not a job. Like we do, sometimes we do our job because we have to, and it can make it difficult. Don't do that if you're learning a language. I don't know, like just have fun. That's my main goal as a teacher and as a student too. Right? I told you I'm learning a little bit of Italian slowly, right? So have fun, and I want my students to have fun too.
Absolutely right. Fun is part of, I think, both of our classes. And in fact, in my school, all of my teachers have been trained. And I think we've got something in common. I think we've got in common the fact that we were trained at International House. Is that I was trained at International House London. And I think I've seen something about you about International House.
Yes.
And the whole methodology is about relax in class and have fun. And how can we have fun outside of the classroom? Because we can provide the environment as teachers in our classroom. And we have games, we have a relaxed atmosphere, we have a laugh. And obviously we can provide all of this in our own classrooms. But how about outside of the classroom? So you mentioned, for example, relate to what you enjoy. And you know what? The other day, in preparation of this, I was thinking, okay, so if I wanted to learn Spanish, what is my interest? And I was looking to, okay, my interest might not be relatable to a lot of people, but perhaps it's spring. And so I was thinking, okay, a little bit of gardening. And you know what? I found 3 videos on YouTube, one in English, one in French, and one in Spanish, about, and don't judge me, but repotting a plant.
That's good.
Okay. Just that. And if it is your interest, you are going to watch those with interest. Obviously, for Patrick, it's going to be artistic dancing. I don't remember what it was, Patrick, you mentioned to me. Maria, I don't know what your thing is. I don't know, perhaps you want to put your, so I don't know if you can read Maria's comment. And in the meantime,
I have one comment. There's one comment here from Crunch Languages, and it says that sometimes it's a delicate step to the idea of going calmly. It's not accepted. And I agree. I agree sometimes, yes. But that shouldn't be like that. I mean, it's in my opinion, a misconception. Some people may be able to be rushed, to be hurried, and work under pressure. Of course, it just depends on the type of learner that you are. Some people work great under pressure. Personally, I don't. I get stressed. So I think you need to find out what type of learner you are, and then go and find a method, a school, a teacher that adapts to your style and also to your goals, because my goal is not to be rushed into saying you need to take so many classes to pass this exam and then you move forward. That's not how I learn. Some people do great like that, and I think that's a great comment, and it should also be considered as part of your goals to decide what you really want to do and how much effort and how much pressure you can take for your learning, right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And the opposite, some people prefer to go quicker. But something that I found, and I was mentioned before, is never compare yourself. I had students who they would enroll in my complete beginners, but in fact, they were not complete beginners, and I had complete beginners there. And so they would, obviously, one would go much quicker, and the other would looking over that way and thinking, oh, what's happening? Why am I not going as quick as that one? But obviously, they chose to do something that was already below their level. So it's up to them. Everybody's welcome. But don't compare yourself, because you don't know what the history of the other people. The story of each person is individual, and you never really know why they choose to do that. They just wanted to, revise, refresh, but it's not the first time that they do it. But if you start from complete scratch, then, you have to, everybody run their own race. That's what I believe. And shouldn't it?
Yes. Oh, hi, Carlos. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining today. I agree, and I think Well, it depends. Obviously, we have different needs. Some people are more under pressure because they maybe need to apply for a scholarship, so they have less time, or their job is pressuring them to learn faster. But we should also remember how, and I mentioned this to my students. Think about how long it took you to learn your first language. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same process, but when you were a baby, first you learn words. You first you started understanding, not even saying them. Then you begin to repeat them, right? And after that, you start saying phrases and complete sentences. And then you go to school and you start to write and then to read. So it's a process that took you years. Remember that. Remember that.
Absolutely right. And I agree with you 100%. Enjoy the ride. It's a process. It is not an overnight journey. And if whoever tells you it's going to take 2 months to become fluent, don't believe, because obviously it's one of those marketing things. However,
I hate that. Yeah. Let's
there
not
are
go into
people. Say again?
Let's not go into those places that are like, yeah, I'll be fluent in 3 months. No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Well, please do. I'll have some of that myself. But however, there are actually some techniques, some strategies that you can apply. For example, so what we were saying earlier, so your goal, so if you're clear about your goal and you say that you want to be able to introduce yourself, you don't simply learn like individual sparse words, or a word there, or the word of the day. What is that? What is the word of the day? That is not helpful, yeah? But if you learn your chunks, so first of all, chunks which you are going to use. And every time my students in class, they write everything I say just wait a minute. Just write the vocabulary that is relevant to you. Because, for example, if you're a gardener, you do need those very extra 3 words that I give you. And somebody else might only need to know what gardening is. So in the same way, learn what's relevant to you. Learn it in chunks. And there is another thing that there is a study that says that you do not need 1,000,000 words to become fluent or to be able to express yourself. And in fact, the words that you need, there is actually a very tiny number. And when I write this, it's a piece of research which I can put on later on. I can put that on. I think there's an article from the BBC, for example, and it says, well, for example, with 100 words, you can already express yourself in 50% of your speaking, environment. So 100 words are enough for you to be able to, I'm not saying fluent, but definitely express yourself quite well in speaking. And so you have to be strategic in learning, like specifically the most used words and expressions. And that is a little strategy, but it can go a long way in helping you, like getting a little bit faster. I'm not talking about 3 months time you'll be fluent at all. But it's little strategic choices. What do you think?
I agree, and another thing that it's important is sometimes when we start to learn, we expect for some reason to speak with the same, I don't know, speed and fluency that we do our first language. And we need to be realistic. So you need to find those phrases, those words that are going to help you in a lot of situations and focus on that and try to rephrase your ideas. Yes, you think about it, do not translate it. You're going to take too long, you're going to waste your time, and you're probably not going to find the exact words. So rephrase your ideas, summarize them, and communicate in simple sentences, in simple ways, at least in the beginning. And that's going to give you a sense of achievement. You communicated. And when you feel achieved, you feel like you're making progress. Otherwise, you're going to feel frustrated, right? So slow down, go lower, lower your level, lower your expectations, and keep it simple. That to me is one of the most important strategies that we can use when we're learning in the beginning process. Keep it simple, keep it short, and find, like you said, those phrases, those words that are going to help you in different situations, you know?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And just learning, sometimes what helps is just learning how to start a sentence, or how to, that little word that can put these two sentences together. Because that's a simple sentence and you've got it. That's another simple sentence and you've got it. But if you only stop here, your fluency is like limited. And yet you use that little but or whatever, however, or another conjunction, and then bang, you have a nice little sentence that is going a little bit further, and it makes you feel a little bit more fluent. So I think
Exactly.
it's a little technique, Sunday,
Yeah, you know
to
what? Another thing that it's very important from the beginning is to get used to not translating, right? But to begin to think in the language, because languages they have some similarities, but they also have different structures, different rules, different uses for things, right? So when we start from an early stage to think in this language, it's going to make the process faster and easier. One recommendation that I always give my students is, and this may sound very silly, and I think some of them find it funny, but I tell them, let's begin with very basic sentences. Let's say you're true beginner, right? So you start describing the things that you see to yourself, right? Like, for example, let's say white pillow, or I don't know, big car. And you start, when you look at it, you think about it in English in my case, right? So your brain starts to adapt. So you start looking and recognizing things in that language, right? When you start moving forward, you can start talking to yourself. And I have one student that has made amazing progress. It's unbelievable. This boy, when I started teaching him, he was so shy and he would only answer yes or no. That was it. Yes or no. And then I started giving him these tips. And the other day he told me, well, I've been practicing talking to myself, because he has nobody else to talk to during the day. So he said, okay, great. And I noticed the progress. It may sound silly. You may think it's crazy, but talking to yourself helps you put your ideas together, listen to yourself, even practice pronunciation. So I think that's a great strategy to begin
absolutely.
the thinking transformation. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And something, sometimes when you speak, you can't hear yourself because you are focusing on producing that language. So a great tip related to what you were saying is to actually record yourself, because by recording yourself, you can catch, you can hear better, and you can compare the teacher's English or wherever the native English, and then yours. And you can notice when you actually are, your inflection is not quite right, there's something not quite right, and that really will help your brain detect and notice. Because obviously, we know that you can say, for example, I lived in London for you don't know how many years, but having learned English as an adult, pronunciation is a problem
Yeah.
because the adult brain cannot cope with new sounds. So what happened is like, I'm a fan of tennis. I play tennis. I love tennis. And there is Wimbledon. No? Now, the Italians, you know how they pronounce that. They pronounce that Wimbledon. Wimbledon. And, at the beginning, I was like, and I could, and I would say Wimbledon. And then, after many years, finally, I heard, what? What? Wimbledon? Wimbledon? Obviously, I cannot yet, I'm not yet able to say properly. But, you know, it's like you finally notice that. But
Exactly.
I
And one
think
day it just clicks, right? It clicks.
exactly right.
You know,
Exactly right. You click because you've
Pat,
noticed.
Patrick says talking to yourself out loud in the car is helpful. I do it all the time, especially in traffic jams. And that's fantastic. Great for you, Patrick. And if you don't want to talk to yourself, another alternative is to sing. If you're in your car, put on some music in whatever language you're learning and start learning the songs. That is almost like talking to yourself, listening, and there you're practicing pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, intonation, speed. There are so many things, rhymes, right? So many things that you can practice while singing. And I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't like to sing when you're alone and you listen to your favorite music? It always makes you feel happy. It makes you feel good. And that's also part of what we mentioned before. Enjoy it. Have fun.
Absolutely. Have fun. Exactly right. Have fun. And I have to say that as an independent student, obviously, ages like years ago, we didn't have all the resources that we have today. But
Yes.
today, with the social media, you can, the world is your oyster because you can interact in all sorts of different ways and in an anonymous way. And so you don't have to be embarrassed if you make a mistake. You just go there, you just write your beat, you do your comment, and so on. And I think that is great for producing that language. Um, you know, um, uh, for example, for example, if I were Patrick, I would find Giovanni on Instagram and I would write my comments. I find that picture fantastic. I will write my comments. So I will start thinking, okay, so what do I want to say? How do I phrase that? What is the vocabulary that is of interest in this particular case? And because I'm interested, I'm motivated, the memory is fantastic because the memory prioritize what's important to me. So
Of
because I
course.
found that is of interest to me, then that particular structure that I use over there, I will remember and I can then reuse it, obviously, in different contexts.
Exactly. And
So,
you're practicing something in context, right? It's like it's relevant, it's now. So it's something that just happens spontaneously, naturally. That's also how language should be produced, right? In a natural way, I think.
absolutely. So, shall we play a bit, a few, any other ideas? Who's got ideas of how to have fun with the language?
I'm
So,
gonna
what
tell
is
you
your thing?
I'm gonna tell you what I did when I was learning English. And one of the things that helped me the most, and I think it's marvelous and even better now because we have platforms like Netflix and well, whatever streamers that you may have, or even cable TV has the option now to switch on the subtitles to the language, right? So you can listen to whatever you like watching, original audio with subtitles in the language that you're in, your target language, and that is just amazing how much your brain starts to absorb, becomes a sponge of information because you're watching it, you're listening, you're reading, you're having fun, and it's just something that happens, uh, at your own pace. If you don't understand something, you can always go back, right? Or just let it pass and see if it gets better. So I think that's a wonderful tool to use. Change your subtitles in your TV, your videos, your YouTube videos, whatever you're watching. Just set them on the target language and always listen in the original audio, right? That helped me a lot. I'm gonna tell you, I learned more using that I did in many years of my early learning in high school. So,
Absolutely.
what do you think?
Absolutely. You're engaged. That's what it is. You're engaged. Your brain was full on focused because you're interested. And that is beautiful. And that you get into that state of flow that you require. And that is fantastic. And obviously it works for English because you don't have, let's say, the very beginner's level. For Italian, we have a lot of beginners. So that would work, but it would be a little bit intense for them. What I suggest for Italian is go on to something a little bit more frivolous, fashion. Okay, why don't you find a influencer in your target language and then only listen to that. That is frivolous. It's like it could be basic Italian. There is the picture. You know exactly what they're saying. But it's something that, you know, it will attract you. It will be easy because it's everyday languages. You know, if they're talking about fashion, that's all they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about the skirt. They're going to talk about the jacket. They're going to talk about the, you know, whatever. So the vocabulary is going to be restricted to that. And you have a chance, for example.
I totally agree. Videos are fantastic. Music, wonderful. Music makes you happy by nature. You know, we listen to music and we feel good. So singing, I used to, for example, well, a long time ago, before YouTube, right? And we had CDs that came with booklets. So what I would do in my free time was take those booklets, read the lyrics, and whatever word I didn't understand, I had a dictionary with me. So I would go down the dictionary, find the word so I could understand what I was singing, you know, and I did it because it made me feel good. It made me happy to understand what I was singing and to learn the song. And I learned so many words, vocabulary, using the dictionary. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And then I would sing it and I would memorize the words. You know, those words never, they stayed forever. So I think that's a fantastic way. I love dictionaries. I'm very old-fashioned when it comes to using dictionaries. I know people love to use translators, and basically now people can translate entire paragraphs, which is terrible for your learning. Please do not do that, because that means you're not producing it. You're just thinking about it in your language. You translate it, and a system, a machine, a telephone, whatever, is doing it for you. So whatever you do, at least if you're learning that language, of course, if you're doing something else, doesn't matter. But if you're learning a language, do not do that. Go and find the specific words you don't understand or you don't know how to say. So when you find particular words, you're learning it. If you translate the entire text, you're wasting your time, right? You're lying to yourself. So I think that's also a great tool. Dictionaries, we have dictionaries in our phones now. I tell my students, download it, keep it there, and use it as much as you can.
Patrick says, I've just watched Netflix Incastrati. I love it in Italian with English subtitle. In Italian, very good. Okay, sounds fabulous. Well done, Patrick. That's great. That's great. Patrick is has a lot of learning tips because he's learned more than one language as well. And obviously, you know, the more languages and the you get more strategies.
Right.
And how about identifying patterns in languages?
Oh, yes. I love patterns. And that, I'm so happy that you mentioned, because I was thinking about that earlier. One of the reasons that I couldn't relate to English when I was beginning to learn it is because I didn't understand the logic, right? And then I discovered patterns. And it was like, it opened my eyes. And I said, oh, this is repeated over and over again. English has many patterns. There may not be super clear rules. Maybe like Spanish grammar has very structured, specific rules. English is more flexible that way. And I'm thinking Italian is similar to Spanish.
But to exactly what you're thinking, can you give us like an idea of a pattern that you were thinking of?
Okay. Let's say, for example, the Y, the letter Y in English, right? There are many situations where the Y gets replaced by an I. When you're thinking comparatives and superlatives, when you transform the adjective, you change the Y to an I. When you think about plural nouns, you make a singular noun plural, you change the Y to an I. Verbs in third person, you know, sometimes. So those patterns are repeated over and over again. And it makes it easy because once you learn it, you remember, oh yes, the Y, gotta change it for an I. You keep doing it.
Absolutely right. And how about patterns between languages? So let's do a little game. So for example, English, Spanish, and Italian. Now, we know English has a huge vocabulary, huge, much bigger than some other languages. But a lot of the English vocabulary is coming directly from Latin. And so, for example, I don't know, can you say a few words that end in, like, for example, station, shone? Do you know? Can you? So, for example, if we say station, so how is the Spanish?
Estación.
And Italian, stazione. So, can you think of another word with shion? What can you say? Communication. Spanish?
Comunicación.
Comunicazione. So do you see, there are patterns in the language, and when sometimes you don't know the word, based on the pattern, you can imagine what it is, you can guess. Yeah, you can have an educated guess of the word. And so a word that you didn't know before, you never used it, but you know that there is that pattern.
That's a great one. Kazamba said ration. And yes, in Spanish is ración.
Right, razione, competition.
Well, in Spanish it's a little different competition. It's competencia.
Competenza, okay, competition, competizione. Beh, sì, in Italian it was competizione.
Yeah, but they are related. They are related somehow, right?
Yeah. I'm not saying that it's going to work on 100% of the time, but it is going to work in probably 95% of the time. So you're going to be right, and you're going to, you know, so the idea of getting the pattern going, or also all sorts of, you know, other ways is it's the knowledge that we have a lot of words in common. And again, we have some false friends, so sometimes it's not going to work, and you know, we might get into a little bit of trouble with the false friends. But the false friends are very few and far between compared to the other words. And just to go into this pattern, like for example, actor, actor. How do you say that in Spanish?
Actor.
Attore, there you are. Or I've got many. Animal.
Animal.
I know, yeah, see, I can guess. I don't speak Spanish. Animal, animale. Or, I don't know, area.
Area.
Area. Okay, so, you know, you can guess it. You can guess the word.
Exactly. So you can find so many things that are related. Even in grammar, I mean, I'm not saying that all grammar structures are the same, but the basic or the logic of some grammar structures are very similar. So we can find those maybe to differentiate between, let's say, a continuous tense and a simple tense, right? Using gerunds. We have gerunds in Spanish, obviously, so we can identify those particular pieces and understand, okay, so there is a difference between saying I do and I am doing, right? And that makes the click for you to remember, when do I use I do, when do I use I'm doing? And it's all about finding the things in common, not trying to make it the same, not translating it, but trying to find the things in common with your language. If that helps you, take it.
That's right.
Yes?
That's right.
Like that.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Patrick says negoziazione. Negoziazione, negotiation, negoziazione.
Negociación, yeah, in Spanish.
So there is a lot there.
Yeah.
Okay, superb.
Okay, so
okay.
What about what can we do to learn vocabulary faster? What do you think it's a good idea to help you learn vocabulary faster?
Okay, so as I was saying earlier, concentrate on items are of use to you. So don't try and learn stuff that you will never use in a million years. It's going to clutter your mind. It's not going to go into your long-term memory. And then it's going to be disappeared and you've lost an hour of your time. However, you know, something that I did the other day, you know, is you just put post-it Well, so if you're starting out, obviously the items around your house are items that you need to refer to, that you will need to buy even if you're in a different country. So put labels on around your house until you actually learn them. Then take them away every time you learned one and you're completely sure about it, and then replace with another item. So be surrounded by this item. And the more and the closer to you these items are, obviously, the more use you will have of them. What about you? What would you suggest?
I think it's also a great idea to learn words by categories, by groups. Yeah. So instead of learning an individual word, you can learn, well, let's say even collocations, right? Words that go together. I don't know, words that are related. Like, let's say, okay, today I'm going to learn 5 different words for animals, for pets. Yeah. So focus on that group of the same topic. So it gets there, and you're thinking about you can identify them in your mind, right? So you think, okay, pets, and you think a hamster, a cat, a dog, a bunny, and that is going to help you set the context for you to remember. Instead of learning 1 word, you learn maybe 3 today. And imagine if you learn 3 new words every day by the end of the year, how many words are you going to be using that are new, right?
Absolutely right. Spot on. And as you say, words have to be in context. What does it mean? At the lower level, because I'm always talking about the lower level, because my students always start from there. For example, why don't you get a story, a children's story book in the target language, and then you have fables. The language is going to be simple. The animals are going to be like everyday animals. And the story, the context, is what helps again your memory to remember that, and the emotion that you can bring into the story. If it's a story that you, for example, learned when you were a child, is one of your childhood story, even better.
Don't be too harsh on yourself. If you make a mistake, it's okay. That's it. You need to try it. You need to jump. You need to jump and do it. Get your books. Start reading.
It is absolutely true. However, sometimes to say just jump, because I remember when I was learning to swim, I learned to swim as an adult, another thing. And they said, just jump in. It was a very deep pool. They said, just jump in. And I was thinking, I don't want to jump in. I don't want to jump in. And then I'm thinking, it could be that is too much. In fact, I didn't jump in. And then again, the idea of the baby step. Okay, so you have this fear that is completely stopping you from doing it. Break it down. Okay, let's say, okay, what am I afraid of? Okay, I'm afraid to speak in public. Okay, so break it down. So make it into your classroom. Okay, I will say something. I will say a little bit more in my classroom. Okay, I am afraid of speaking in front of everybody. Okay, but the teacher will pair me with another person. So I will make all of the effort to start with when my teacher pairs me with just the one person who is more or less at my level. So it's like every time you find that you're in front of something that is unsurmountable, then you say, how can I do that? I just cannot bear to do it. Break it down again and again until it is so easy for you to do that it's impossible for you not to do.
Yeah. That's basically, well, that's what I mean by jump. It's like, yeah, do it the way you can, but you have to try it. You cannot let yourself be stopped by fear. You gotta try it, because otherwise there's no point. Like, if you never try it, if you never give yourself the opportunity, give yourself the opportunity to make a mistake. See it that way. Make a mistake and learn from it. Learn from the mistake. Don't repeat it. Maybe in the future you will do it again. Okay, well, but every time you make it, you will realize and say, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong. I'm gonna try not to do it again. And that's how we learn. When you were learning to walk, you fell 1,000 times and your parents helped you, just get up and keep going. And then now you're running,
Absolutely right. And again, the only rule in language learning is never give up. Never give up. Because, it may take you a long time, it may take you a little time, but the only thing that you have to do is to keep going exactly as you say. Are we coming up to the end of it? Shall we start talking about our challenge, which obviously incorporates all of these little baby
Yes, let's
steps?
do this.
So, to put all of these little items, little tips together for you students, trying to find ways of developing your language, we have thought about a 7-day challenge. A 7-day challenge which is all geared towards you expressing, putting together your thoughts and interact, because we said interaction is king, is the key for your learning. So we put together the 7-day challenge, and for each day, mine specifically starts on Monday. So I've got another couple of days to prepare some reels, because I wish to do it with you, because obviously we always say, oh, you can do it, you can do it. And then, I want to put myself forward as well. And as you learning Italian or you learning English or another language, I am learning to use this beautiful social media tool, and therefore, which is not easy for me. Obviously, my age speaks for itself. And so I will put together like a reel or a post every day for you to interact with the challenge. So, for example, if the challenge says, okay, so you need to introduce yourself, then I will have to have a post or a reel where I guide you through this process. So, for example, or I either introduce myself, or I prepare a post where I said, okay, this is what you say, come ti chiami, di dove sei, etc., so that then you can post or simply reply or comment onto the post, or post directly onto your Instagram. And by the 7th day, you will have had like a little bit of Italian or English or another language every day, which it is what we are teaching our students to do. So to always do a little bit, put yourself there every day. What do you say, Chio?
I agree. Like once, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. It becomes part of yourself, part of your life. So if you do it a little bit every day, one day you're going to notice it happens naturally, right? So I set up a challenge. I have a 7-day challenge for whoever wants to participate and practice their English. And the idea is to post a story on your Instagram every day with a specific topic, right? And you're going to write a description in English in your story, right? So you're going to tag me so I can see your story, and we can share those things, because it's always nice to share the things that are important to us with other people. And that's it. Basically, I want you to post a story, write something in English related to that topic, and for 7 days, make it part of your social media interaction to try to develop a natural, let's say, habit to make it part of your life, and practice your English in little tiny baby steps every day.
Absolutely right.